We're getting married.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know who this be, it's your girl Kyler B coming at you with a new video. So today we're going to be talking about Love is Blind Season 9. It is, taking place in Denver, Colorado. Yeah, Colorado, there's something in the air in that state, okay? Because what's going on? Because this season, these first 6 episodes 1 through 6, we're going to be talking about the first episode out the gate. We're going to talk about all these different couples that got engaged and whatnot, and the almost couples that got engaged. First episode, we're going to talk about Anton and Alini. Anton is Russian, Alini's Brazilian. Basically, after I guess the first couple chats, she said she had a dream about him, that he got arrested, and her and his mom came to take him out of jail, and then basically they told each other that they love each other, and then they got engaged very soon in the first episode. Like Anton and Antonini, they got engaged. They're good, they're locked in. The next couple we basically see a lot is Calabria and Edmond. Edmond, I don't know what's going on with him, but we learned about Edmond is that, he grew up in foster care. Obviously with that, he didn't really know, if he how about love and stuff like that, and obviously his dating life is not that great. He seems like a desperate dude. Calabria, she's a social worker. She's the type that she usually goes after. She's trying to find something different, somebody who's not really much, so much, she's a Miss Independent, so she just wants somebody that she can rely on, lean on, when she wants to. She doesn't want to be Miss Independent all the time. So she's trying to look for somebody who's not really used to her type. So obviously her and Edmond basically connected about their life and things like that. And obviously, that connection was probably their strongest connections, because that's the only people that we see both of them talking to. So obviously they later on get engaged sooner than later. Then we have, Nick and Annie. And also he was talking to Kate. So Nick, he's supposed to be some funny dude, basically. He was talking to Kate first. He talked to Kate. He even told Kate that he loved her and everything. But then I think later on, Kate kind of revealed that I guess a family member of hers passed away. And then, she said because of that, she didn't believe in, the Lord anymore. So he was like, what? What's going on here? He's like, oh, I thought, it was just for that time, I didn't know it was you were never going to change your mind about that. So he told her that he loved her already. So then in their next conversation, I guess she, never really said anything back, and she never really validated him as much. So, after finding about that, he basically was like, yeah, I'm going to have to cut you off. Now, here's the topic about this situation. I would say, okay, he cut her off. But I'm like, we have seen Love is Blind where couples, try to, basically ignore, people's religious, identities or whatever. Whether their beliefs. You know what I'm saying? We've seen, a Christian and atheist get engaged, and then, up until, the wedding coming up to, they, ended the engagement. We've seen, last season, with this guy who went to church, and then, I feel like the girl that he was engaged to, was looking at all the sermons and was just not really into it. And then after that, she was just kind of yeah, it's not for her. So I'm just him basically cutting it off right there and then in the pods. I mean, to be honest, that's a good thing. You can get cut off for way less. So he went on to Annie, basically regurgitated his I love you to her, and him and Annie gets engaged. And I guess Annie was talking to Brennan. Brennan, she was talking to Brennan as well. And the thing is that her and Brennan was basically good, but it wasn't until I guess Nick basically was like, okay, here's my option 2, and basically kind of regurgitated everything he said to Kate. Brennan never really kind of put a lot of effort, but then after he found out okay, Nick is his competition, he tried to put his effort in the last minute. And then he was just like, okay, why did you wait till now? We had all this time. You're my number one, da 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 da. You wait till Nick to say something, and then that's why you want us like do this. So she was like, yeah, no, she's gonna go with Nick. So her and Nick are engaged. Then we have Patrick, Anna, and Casey. Patrick is Asian, and I guess he's saying like, Denver, Colorado is like very not diverse at all. So him, he feels like very like, his identity, he feels insecure about it. He didn't have that confidence growing up because he got used to bully, or he, I guess, saw himself being like the only Asian guy. And like, it's basically a shock because it's just like, okay, like, that's how, not diverse or Colorado is, that like, okay, being Asian is such like a insecurity. So like, it's very, very much a shock. I would say him and Casey's talks, it was just kind of like, okay, there was like times where I think there was a conversation where like, I feel like, we're kind of like, what's the purpose of Love is Blind if you're going to ask him about his ethnicity? Because he was talking to Anna, and Anna and him kind of like really kind of picked up on like, okay, like if your parents are from a different country and then you moved here, it's kind of giving like, okay, you're not American, you're not really white. So it's giving like, okay, you're probably Asian. So if him and Anna basically have like the same upbringing and, things like that, they kind of like clocked it that they're both Asian, and, that, they probably would get along because they have a good personality. So him and Casey asked, okay, would you mind sharing like what's your ethnicity? He says he's, half Cambodian and half Chinese. She never dated a Chinese person before, but just like, okay, why are we asking about your looks? You're not really supposed to do that in the pod. It's called Love is Blind for a reason. Anyways, he was talking to Anna, and I guess Anna like bumped up to be his number one, but then suddenly Anna decided to ghost. She just left the experiment, and Anna was talking to Brandon. She was talking to Brandon, like, I guess he was, had Anna as his number one as well. So I guess after Anna left, Brandon left, and it was just like two ghosts, like people ghosting. The thing is that I think Brandon was also Sparkle Meg's, number one as well. So she felt a type of way as well, that like, oh, Brandon left. But I think Brendan had Anna as his number one, and I think Patrick had Anna as his number one. So it was like Anna leaving kind of like really tossed over like a bunch of stuff. Anyhow, because of Anna's leaving, Patrick decided to focus straight on Casey, and then I guess, Casey became his number one, ends up getting engaged to Casey. We'll circle back to Patrick and Casey because it's like a big old situation that happens. Sparkle Meg lost Brendan as her number one, competitor. She was like, okay, she's talking to this guy named Jordan. Jordan has a 5-year-old. He's only 29 years old. Sparkle Meg, she's basically like this big entrepreneur. She's like basically about a millionaire. She has a lot of money. She just wants somebody who can compliment her and stuff like that. In sense of like, not somebody who just like, money hungry, like wants her for her money. She just wants someone to compliment her and her like business work and life aspect. So she's talking to Jordan, and then she's talking to, I believe, Michael or Mike. So Mike, he's obviously 37. He has like, established himself and worth and stuff like that. But he seems very much like he wants to undermine Jordan because he sees Jordan. He finds out that Jordan is his competition. So he tried to undermine him, basically says like, okay, you want some of tattoos, somebody like, doesn't really have it all together. Like, I have a sauna and a hot tub in my place, I have a business, he just seems like very much full of himself. And I guess, because he made it for himself, he can feel that way. So I tried to undermine Jordan the whole time. And then I guess, because Sparkle Man wants to change her, like, physical or like her typical type, she goes for Jordan, the guy that she was about to write off in like friend zone, but she kind of like, she laughs with him every conversation, and, her and Jordan gets, engaged. So Mike is just like, you're making a big mistake. Basically, I don't really want to like discredit him, but like, oh, you're making a big mistake, picking Jordan over me, So we go back to, we have what's called Nick and Madison. Nick and Madison gets engaged as well. Madison, she's the girl who is like, has this eye disease that, shortly in like some years time, she's gonna go blind completely. So she wants to find a partner that like really likes her without her looks, and like do this whole experiment. So these are your couples. Before they go to Mexico for their, honeymoon situation, Casey basically just kind of like, okay, has second thoughts and just like, yeah, it's not about, you know, Patrick's looks. It's just like, I don't feel like I don't want to be with him. Like, he deserved better than me. So they're just asking like, okay, what went wrong? Like, what happened? Like, this is the person for you. She's like trying to say like, no, it was not about his look, da 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 da. But it's just, I just like feel like she just did not like the guy at all.
He's not a bad looking guy in any sense. I understand how that is about to look.
Is it like, are you trying to like, you're trying to break up? Or are you trying to just go home? Huh?
So she's trying to like break up with him, but she's trying to like play it down to like to the point like, oh, I just don't want to go to Mexico. I don't want to go to the honeymoon. So he's like, oh, you're just not feeling up to it. You're like, you're okay, da 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 da. And she's like, you know, she's like, I still care about you, da da da. I just don't want to go to the trip, like da da da. So he's thinking like, okay, we can just still work on the relationship on the outside. But she just tried to break it up completely. Like, she don't even really want to be with him at all. But she just tried not to like, she's trying to save face in front of the cameras that like she really just not wanting to be with him because he doesn't look like her type and she's not obsessed with him as she claimed. But the thing is that she's jumping on him, kissing on him, everything when she's trying to break up with him, which is crazy work. It's just like, okay, this is why he's getting kind of mixed signals, because he doesn't know like if we're done for good or if, you know, you just want to not be with me, or if you just want to like work on the relationship later on. So, you know, after 6 couples get engaged, only 5 remain. So we have Calabria and Edmond, Anton and Alini, Nick and Annie, Madison and Joe, and Jordan and Sparkle Mag. So they go to Mexico for the little, you know, honeymoon situation, and you know, they're getting to know each other. I think the first couple of nights, I think everybody except for Edmond and Calabria, they like, you know, explore each other and get it on, whatever. So when they get the little meetup situation, you know, they were talking about it. And I guess Edmond, he finds out from Anton, like, you know, that he didn't get with, you know, Calabria like that. So, like, Anton, he's trying to be like, you know, just 4 weeks. Like, you know, if she's just trying to wait for marriage, you know, why are you, like, you know, stressed about it? So, he's feeling some type of way. And I feel like Edmond, I don't even know what's wrong with this guy. No shade. You know, Calabria, she's, like, doing, like, some type of, like, you know, scenarios as, like, you know, a couple. Like, you guys are a couple. We go to a club. This guy at the club gets in my face, grabs me, like, okay, I want to be with you, da 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 da. What would you do in that situation? This guy is like, I don't want no trouble, I don't want no problems, I'm just going to call for security. Calabria is telling this guy, like, this man has put his hands on me, and right in front of your face, and all you're going to ask is for security? Like, she looking at him dead in his face, like, alright, you're not serious right now. Like, this guy, if we're supposed to be husband and wife, we go to the club, whatever. Another man, whether he's buff or not buff, puts his hands on me and you're not going to do nothing? You're just going to call for security? Like, hello? Like, what? You're supposed to be my protector. You're supposed to be the guy. You're supposed to be the man. Like, hello? Like, I got to be the man and protect myself? Like, what's T? He's trying to be like, oh, he doesn't want no problem. I don't know if that's like a situation that he just like, obviously because Colorado is not diverse, he doesn't want to get like into any like police situations or whatever, and especially like being grown up in foster care, like obviously, you know, he probably got reprimanded a lot, so he kind of just like doesn't want to be reprimanded again for anything like that. I don't know if that's because of his upbringing, that's why he's like so scared to do anything like that, but I'm just like, that's just kind of red flag here, because she's like giving you a real deal scenario that could happen, and you're just kind of like, okay, I'm just gonna like let the security handle it, which is like, all right. Then, you know, she's like talking about situations, and he's just like, you know, she likes to compare himself to other people. And like, she's just like, yeah, comparison is a thief of joy. Like, you know, you need to stop comparing yourself to others. Like, we don't care about what other people think. Because I think he was trying to compare himself, like, oh, which couple's gonna last, da 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 da. Like, who's your top couple, da 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 da. And she's just like, yeah, no, I don't really care about anybody else because they're not doing nothing for me. So then he brings up the whole everybody else got to, you know, do stuff and I didn't, and I'm such a nice guy, and da 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 da. He started crying, boohoo crying, and I'm just like, yo, Edmond, you're not serious. Like, she looking at him like, is he out of his mind? He is crying because him and her didn't get to do the deed yet. He wants to do it before they get married, which is just like, What? So
I don't know.
Wait, no, let's
I just
backtrack.
think I'm too fucking nice. Like, I think, I can't lie, like, I'm like kind of stuck on like you having one night stands.
I'm not like that anymore.
she says like, okay, in her past, you know, she had a one night stand, da da da, and you know, she wants to actually do something different for somebody that she really cares about and likes. Like, okay, we can do the deed, and then when we get to the altar, you're gonna be like, oh, I don't like what then? I gave it up. Like, she gives it up for what? You know, that's what she's basically saying. Like, you know, you're upset because, you know, she talks about her one night stands, and she's like, oh, you give it up to, like, he's basically trying to say like, oh, she gave it up to anybody that didn't do nothing for her, and he's doing all this stuff for her, and you know, he's not getting nothing in return. Which I'm just like, dude, like, you need to chill. Like, I'm just like, her patience to be with this guy, like, you know, put it in the textbook. So to put it in the textbook, because it's crazy. It's very crazy. It's like his response to this whole situation. It's just like, okay, he's in his late 20s. This is how he's acting over this whole situation, which is like, is Claver his mother or his partner or his future wife? Like, what's T? Joe and Madison, I think they were at the party, and I think Joe and Jordan, they got like drunk. So Jordan, he was like starting to like act weird, and I guess Sparkle Mag, she did not care for it. She was just like, yeah, you're annoying me, like, stop. Now Joe, he just seems like so inebriated, like he doesn't even know where he was. So he decided to like go back to the hotel and like rest up. Madison was so confused, like, what happened to him? Like, did he get, like, did something spike his drink? Like, what happened? He goes to sleep. Madison comes back, tries to like speak to him, like, okay, are you okay? What happened? He's like so inebriated, he doesn't, like, he's out of his mind. And she's like, are you all right? Like, you asked me this question 7 times. Like, are you okay? Well, are you good? What's good? She's like, you know, I'm just waking up. Like, I'm just trying to like catch myself. Like, you know, he's just getting up. He doesn't really, that's why he's asking so many questions. So they're just like kind of having like a bit of an off situation about that, which, you know, understandable, because I feel like he was definitely inebriated. He definitely needed to rest up. Like, you know, I don't know who was pouring the drinks in Mexico or at that party, but both Jordan and Joe got so, like, you know, kind of like tipsy, like inebriated, that is like crazy work. But the preview seems like some mess is gonna go down. I feel like Sparkle Meg is gonna regret her decision. I don't know if Anton and you know, Eleni gonna have some problems about financials, like, or like cooking and cleaning situation. I don't know what they're gonna have, but I mean, this season is giving mess. It's giving mess. So I'll be tuned in. I'll be seated for what's going on. But these couples, yeah, I don't know about that. What's in the Colorado, the water? Like, what is in it? But anyway, guys, if you guys like the video, comment down below, let me know your thoughts, comments, concerns. You can subscribe to my channel, subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this video. Peace.